I never thought I'd be the kind of woman to write something like this. But lately, I can't sleep, I can't eat, and I feel like I'm living in a lie that's slowly killing me from the inside. So here I am, writing to strangers on the internet, hoping that someone will either call me out for what I did, or help me make sense of why I did it. I, 29F, have been married to my husband, Mark, 32M, for 4 years. We met in a pretty normal way, through mutual friends at a small get-together. He was kind, attentive, and a little shy in that nice guy way that made me feel safe. After a few bad relationships, that safety felt like everything I'd been looking for. Our relationship wasn't a movie romance. It was simple, grounded, and comfortable. We didn't fight much, we agreed on most things, and Mark always made sure I had everything I needed. He never yelled, never made me feel insecure. He loved me deeply, maybe even more than I loved him. That's the part that makes me hate myself the most now. In the beginning, everything was fine. We got married a year after dating, moved into a small house, and started building a quiet life together. We both worked full-time. I'm an office administrator, and Mark's an IT technician for a local company. Our routine was predictable: work, dinner, TV, sleep. Weekends were for errands and his parents. Nothing was wrong, but over time, I started to feel something was missing. Not excitement. Not passion. Maybe connection. It's hard to explain. He was always physically there, sitting next to me on the couch, but mentally somewhere else. When I talked about my day, head nod, but his eyes would drift to his phone. When I'd try to surprise him with small things, his favorite dinner, a new outfit, he'd just smile and say, "Thanks, babe," without really looking. At first, I told myself this was normal. People settle. Marriage becomes routine. Love matures. But it felt less like maturity and more like emotional silence. Then came Ethan. Ethan wasn't some random guy I met online or a co-worker I flirted with for fun. He was my boss' younger brother, who came to help out in our office temporarily when our IT system crashed. He was confident, funny, and quick to notice little things. The kind of things Mark hadn't seen in years. Like how I changed my perfume. Or that I wore my hair differently. Or that I stayed late at work just to finish reports, even when everyone knew I was already done. It started innocently. Conversations during lunch breaks, harmless teasing, the kind of workplace banter you tell yourself means nothing. But I remember the exact moment something shifted. One afternoon, Ethan brought coffee for everyone. He handed mine to me and said, "You look like you could use a break. You've been running around all day." It was such a small thing, but my chest tightened in a way it hadn't in a long time. Because Mark used to say things like that. Used to notice when I was tired. Used to care in those small, quiet ways. And suddenly, I realized how much I missed being seen. I didn't plan anything. I swear I didn't. But small talks became longer. Inside jokes turned into texting after work. And soon, I started looking forward to his messages more than my husband's voice. There's something dangerously intoxicating about being wanted again, even just emotionally. I felt alive. Lighter. Like I'd woken up from a long, grey dream. One night, while Mark was watching TV, Ethan texted me something simple. "Greater than you deserve someone who actually listens." I remember staring at that message for a long time. I should have deleted it. Instead, I typed back, "Greater than I don't even know what that feels like anymore." That was the first real betrayal. Not the physical one. That came later, but the emotional shift. Because after that night, I started lying. Tiny lies at first. About staying late, about girls' nights, about being tired. And Mark, he never suspected a thing. He trusted me completely. Sometimes that made it worse. I'd look at him sitting on the couch, smiling at something on his phone, and I'd feel this wave of guilt so strong it almost made me nauseous. But then Ethan would text me again, and that guilt would fade into something softer, something like warmth or escape. By the time I realized I was in too deep, it was already too late. We hadn't crossed any physical lines yet, but emotionally I was gone. One afternoon, Ethan asked me if I was happy. Not how's your day, not what's new, but are you happy with your life? No one had asked me that in years. Not my friends, not even my husband. I opened my mouth to lie, to say of course I am. But instead, I heard myself whisper, I don't know. That moment still haunts me. Because it was honest. Painfully honest. And it was also the beginning of the end. From then on, everything felt like a countdown to something I didn't want to happen, and yet, deep down, wanted desperately. I wish I could say I stopped it. That I saw where it was heading and pulled away. But I didn't. I kept going. I let myself fall deeper, convincing myself that I was just talking, that it wasn't real cheating if nothing physical happened. But in my heart, I knew better. I was betraying the man who would have done anything for me, just because I wanted to feel alive again. And then came that night. The night I crossed a line I could never uncross. It's strange how the worst moments of your life never start with thunder or lightning. There's no warning, no dramatic music. Just ordinary moments that turn into something you can never undo. That night started like any other. Mark had gone to visit his parents. His mom wasn't feeling well, and he wanted to help her around the house. He asked if I wanted to come with him, but I told him I was too tired from work. He kissed my forehead, said, "Rest up, babe," and left. And just like that, I was alone. I remember sitting on the couch in silence, staring at the TV without even watching. It was raining outside, soft, steady, comforting in that lonely way. And then my phone buzzed. It was Ethan. "Greater than you, okay? You sounded off today." I typed, "Just tired." He replied, "Want to grab a drink? Just talk." I should said no. I should turned off my phone and gone to bed. But the truth is, I didn't want to be alone with my thoughts. And deep down, I knew I was already making the choice. I told myself it was innocent. Just two co-workers, grabbing a drink after work. But as soon as I saw him waiting by the bar, with that familiar smile and the look that lingered just a second too long, I knew. I knew where this was heading. We talked for hours. About work. About life. About how people change. He told me I seemed unhappy. And I told him I didn't know what I was anymore. I don't even remember who leaned in first. But I remember the warmth, the rush, the dizziness, and then the realization that everything inside me just broke. I wish I could say I stopped it. That I stood up, apologized, and walked away. But I didn't. It wasn't about attraction or lust. Not really. It was about being seen, being heard, being wanted in a way I hadn't felt in years. And in that moment, I convinced myself that I deserved it. That after years of feeling invisible, I had the right to feel something again. But the truth hit me the moment it was over. When I got home that night, Mark was already asleep. His phone was charging neatly on his nightstand, his arm draped across my side of the bed, like head fallen asleep waiting for me. I stood there in the dark, staring at him, and I swear my chest physically hurt. Because it just destroyed something pure. Something I didn't even realize I still valued until it was gone. I cried silently in the bathroom for hours. I washed my hands over and over again, like I could scrub away what it'd done. But I couldn't. The next morning, I couldn't even look at him. He made me coffee, just like every morning, and smiled like nothing had changed. But everything had. I had. He noticed I was distant. He asked if I was okay. I lied. I said it was just stress. He hugged me and said, "Well, get through it together." That almost broke me all over again. For the next few weeks, I lived two lives. At home, I was the quiet, tired wife. At work, I tried to act normal. But every time I saw Ethan, I felt this mix of guilt and longing that made me sick. He wanted to see me again. I kept saying no. But I didn't block him either. It's like part of me wanted to be punished, to get caught, to end the torture of pretending. But Mark never suspected a thing. He even started trying more. Leaving me little notes, planning small dates, saying, "I feel like we've been distant, but I want to fix that." He was trying to save our marriage, without even knowing what it'd done to it. I couldn't handle it. The more love he showed me, the more disgust I felt toward myself. Every time he held my hand, I felt like a fraud. Every "I love you" from him cut deeper than any insult could have. One night, I told him I wanted to take a solo trip for a few days, that I needed to clear my head. He didn't question it. He trusted me. And that's what broke me the most. I went to a small cabin outside the city. Alone. No Ethan. No distractions. Just me. And my guilt. For 3 days, I sat there with my thoughts. And I realized something that terrified me. I didn't cheat because Mark was a bad husband. I cheated because I was unhappy with myself. Somewhere along the way, I stopped recognizing the woman I'd become. Always trying to please everyone, always doing the right thing, always being dependable. I felt invisible not because Mark ignored me, but because it disappeared inside my own life. And Ethan, he just saw what was left of me. A lonely woman who needed to feel alive again. I came home and decided to end it. I told Ethan we couldn't talk anymore. That it was wrong. He didn't fight it. He just said, "I hope you find what you're looking for." I blocked him. Deleted everything. And for a while, I thought that would fix me. But it didn't. Because you can delete a person, but you can't delete what you've done. You can't unsee the version of yourself that betrayed someone who trusted you completely. And now, every time Mark smiles at me, I feel like a ghost. He has no idea who I really am. And sometimes, when I catch my reflection, I don't either. I haven't told him. I don't think I can. I'm terrified of destroying him, but I'm also terrified of living the rest of my life with this lie. So here I am, writing to strangers on the internet, asking, am I the asshole for cheating on a man who did nothing but love me, just because I felt empty? Or am I just human, broken, selfish, and searching for something I should found within myself? I used to think secrets could stay buried forever. That if you just stayed quiet, kept smiling, kept doing all the right things, the truth would eventually fade away. But it doesn't. It waits. Like a slow leak under the surface, until one day, everything just breaks. It had been almost 6 months since that night with Ethan. I'd done everything I could to bury it. Deleted the texts, changed my number, tried to be the perfect wife again. Mark never suspected a thing. He was still the same, gentle, kind, a little distant at times, but steady in the way that made me feel both safe and suffocated. For a while, I almost believed I'd gotten away with it. But guilt doesn't disappear. It just hides in your reflection, in your voice, in the moments of silence when no one's talking. It started showing. I'd flinch when he touched me. I'd forget little things he told me. Sometimes I'd zone out mid-conversation, lost in thoughts I didn't want him to see. He noticed? Of course he did. One evening, while we were having dinner, he put down his fork and said softly, "Greater than you've been somewhere else lately." Did I do something? That question shattered me. Because he didn't sound angry, just hurt. I wanted to tell him right then. To just spill everything and beg for forgiveness. But I couldn't. The words stuck in my throat like glass. So I said what I always say, I'm just tired. He nodded, smiled sadly, and said, I get it. I just miss you, that's all. That night, I cried so quietly next to him that the pillowcase was wet before I even realized. I started writing in a journal, something to unload all the poison sitting inside me. Pages and pages of guilt, shame, and memories I wished I could erase. I never meant for anyone to see it. It was just a way to breathe again. But one morning, I left it on the kitchen counter. Mark found it. When I came home from work that day, the house was silent. Not the peaceful kind of silence, the heavy, suffocating kind. He was sitting on the couch, holding my notebook in his hands. I froze. He didn't look up right away. When he finally did, his eyes looked empty. Like all the light in him had gone out. Greater than, is it true? He asked. Was there someone else? My legs gave out. I remember just standing there, shaking, unable to speak. I wanted to lie, to deny everything, but I couldn't. The look on his face made lying impossible. I nodded. Just once. He closed his eyes, exhaled slowly, and said, why? I didn't have an answer. I tried to explain. About the loneliness, the distance, how I felt invisible, but every word sounded like an excuse. He didn't yell. He didn't throw anything. He just sat there, looking like a man who'd lost something he didn't even know was breakable. After a long silence, he said, greater than, I would done anything for you. I just needed to know what you needed. And then he got up, walked to the bedroom, and started packing a bag. He didn't scream or slam doors. He just left. That night, I sat on the floor of our living room, surrounded by silence and the ghosts of everything I'd destroyed. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. The next morning, I found his wedding ring on the counter next to a note. It said, greater than, I still love you. But I can't live like this. Take care of yourself. And that was it. He moved out that week. I haven't seen him since. I tried to call once. He didn't answer. I sent an email. He never replied. And I don't blame him. Our friends eventually found out, though I never told them how. Some took my side, saying, you were lonely, he neglected you. Others said, you had everything, and you threw it away. And the truth is both are right. Because I did love him. In my own broken, confused way, I still do. But love doesn't excuse betrayal. And loneliness doesn't justify destruction. It's been months now. I live alone in a small apartment. No Ethan. No Mark. Just me. And the silence I created. I've had time to think, to replay every moment, every choice. And I keep asking myself the same question. Was I looking for love, or just trying to fill a void that no one else could fill but me? Maybe I cheated because I wanted to feel alive again. Or maybe I cheated because I didn't know how to love myself anymore. All I know is that I lost a good man. Not because he stopped loving me, but because I stopped showing up for him long before I crossed that line. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for destroying my marriage just because I couldn't face my own emptiness? Or am I just another flawed human being who made a terrible choice and will live with it forever?